Gala, kumusta? Today, I would like to talk about the lifting of the travel ban for Filipino Americans to enter the Philippines. As we can recall, the Philippines banned all foreigners from entering the country in connection with the COVID-19 pandemic. But they had a few exceptions. They allow foreign nationals who hold investors visa and residential visa to enter into the Philippines. But ironically, they banned Filipino Americans who are not dual citizens and who are not holders of Filipino passports. So even if you are a former Filipino citizen, if you have not applied for dual citizenship, or if you have not renewed your Philippine passport, even if you are dual citizen, you cannot enter the Philippines. But the good news is that the IATF, the agency tasked to monitor COVID travel in the Philippines, issued resolution number 85, which now left the ban and allows former Filipino citizens, even if they are not dual citizens, even if they are not holders of Philippine passport, to travel and come into the Philippines. And this also extends to their husband or wife or their children, regardless of age, even if the children are minor or grown up. As long as they are traveling together with a former Filipino citizen, then they can come into the Philippines. But take note that this does not extend to the grandchildren or to the parents of the former Filipino citizen. It only extends to his or her immediate family. But of course, this comes with COVID-related conditions, and that is the Filipino American entering the country must show proof that he has booked for a quarantine in the Philippines at his expense and that he has booked for a COVID testing at the airport. As to the guidelines, the IATF will soon issue these guidelines and you must inquire about them with your travel agencies. This information must not be confused with the suspension of the retirement visa program because that's a separate story. As we recall, since President Duterte realigned the Philippines politically, economically, commercially, and militarily with China in an announcement in Beijing back in 2016, the Chinese nationals have been enticed to come to the Philippines and avail of the retirement program, which allows them to stay in the Philippines as retirees at an early age of 35. And not only the Chinese, but also the Koreans and some Americans and Australians. But the biggest number comes from China, and they are numbering about 28,000 in the past few years. And so that is why there was a concern among the senators and the lawmakers that they might be a risk to national security because of the conflict between the Philippines and China in regarding the Spratly Islands. But as far as PhilAms are concerned, that may not be a big thing because PhilAms can apply for dual citizenship and do not need to be under a retirement visa program. The suspension of the retirement visa program may be lifted when the COVID pandemic will be over. But as of now, we understand the difficulty of foreign nationals who are retiring in the Philippines or who have girlfriends or wives in the Philippines who cannot come back to the Philippines under the retirement visa program because of the suspension of the issuance of such visa. However, those who are already in the Philippines, I believe, are already settled and are not much affected by this suspension.